One is that prophecy, again, there are two schools of thought in Judaism. One is that anybody can become a prophet, and one is that you have to be called on to become a prophet. But it would probably be somewhere in between or a combination, because Moses has to go up the mountain first before God can reveal whatever the revelation is. So in a sense, if we climb up the mountain, just as we spoke today, there will be a point where you will not notice it, because it will happen all of a sudden. If you keep going up that mountain, all of a sudden you'll get the revelation. Now, that takes practice. Prophecy was a calling, but it was also a profession. People actually studied how to be a prophet. You know, this is in the book of Amos. Actually, there's a quote, the famous quote that he was talking about the sycamore trees. He said when he was called to prophesy, he said. He said, what was the quote? But Amos tells the called prophet Amaziah, this is the famous quote, "I was no prophet, nor have I belonged to a company of prophets. I was a shepherd and a dresser of sycamore." Meaning, I was just a simple guy, and I was called on to become a prophet. But this quote tells us that there were schools of prophets. And even the first king of Israel, when Samuel detected Saul, right, where he was, and he brought him along, when the first time he, what's the word when you he ordained him as a king, he went to prophesy. The first thing he did, he took his clothes off, and he went to prophesy. And people, the comment in the book of Samuel is that every person that passed by and recognized Saul said, "Hey, Saul is not part of the prophets," which means that there was a prophet school. You could have gone and learned how to be a prophet. So, but what it means is, prophet, it means to study the ways of God. And if you study the way of God and you start seeing patterns, that's how you learn. Study anything. Chemistry, physics, anything. Theology is the same. Anything is the same. You want to look at patterns and cross-sections where people agree on. So if you start seeing this pattern and you start living it, right, that halakha is to walk with God, is to live it. You can't jump into anything and you can't stop and God will do it. No. You have to be in the process. Your skin has to be in the game. And that's how you learn. You start looking, you learn, you study the text, you see it in reality, you follow it, and you see, oh my God, wow, God has responded. It actually is true. So I can tell you from my own journey, I was looking for answers, and I started looking at patterns and following it, and I'm a rabbi today. But this is, you can say a prophet would do the same kind of thing. Will study, will look for answers for themselves. They were in the desert for 40 nights and 40 days. They were contemplators. They were shepherds. They were people who needed to be by themselves and with God and to contemplate. So that thing, and I'll just finish with one thing. The Talmud says that all the other prophets but Moses communicated with God through all kinds of means, dreams, different visions, but not as clear. As we were talking about making the path straight, that was only prophet that could do that was Moses. He saw in a clear prism. So whatever God spoke, that was exactly it. And finally, there's a midrash, a story that it's worth repeating in this context. I could have mentioned it earlier, But there's a midrash that talks about the skin, as we have to have our skin in the game, literally. The midrash, the story says that originally, before the sin, Adam was a creature of light. Our skin was not even skin, it was light. And that's how we were able to see from one end to another. But with the sin, we've covered ourselves, right? Adam and Eve covered themselves. They did not leave the light to shine through. And that's how we have skins today. And the only remnant of the light is our fingernails. And that's why on Shabbat, at the end of Shabbat, we have a custom of distinguishing between the Shabbat and the secular, and we put our fingernails in front of the fire to see the light, that there's still hope. We still have light under. And if we take the skin, so to speak, the covers, the obstacles that hold us back, the light will shine automatically. And the words even for skin and vision in Hebrew is one letter change. The word for skin is the same word as blind, which means it's covering something. Even theologically, the theology is in the language. And the word for light, it's pretty much the same word. It's or light, and or. Even the way you pronounce them, or, no obstacle, right? Or, light, or, you're bringing it in. You're creating obstacles, or, and that's iver, same word as blind. So we can channel prophecy if we become the right prism, if we go in God's way.